In January 2020, at the CES trade show, Arcade1Up revealed to the world their first prototypes of their 3/4 scale virtual pinball machines and an exclusive partnership with pinball experts Zen Studios, touting an impressive set of features and an even more impressive price tag that many thought would be unachievable for any company to pull off under $1,000. With an impressive selection of pinball IP at their fingertips, Arcade1Up and Zen Studios put together 3 initial virtual pinball machine offerings. A Star Wars machine for those wishing to visit a galaxy far, far away, a Williams Classic Attack from Mars themed pinball machine for those purists out there that really wanted to experience the real-world tables in a virtual setting, and finally, there was this Marvel pinball machine. It comes in a hefty size retail box, and most would be best served to use a pickup truck or an SUV to transport from a retail store to their respective homes. Inside the box, there's good amounts of foam, plastic wrap, and cardboard layering to ensure all the machine components are well protected around all 4 corners. The machine comes partially assembled and only requires a basic screwdriver and Allen wrench in terms of tools necessary. If you've put together an Arcade1Up 3/4 scale arcade cabinet before, you'll find no issue here putting together one of these pinball machines. Users will need to attach the 4 legs to the machine with the supplied hardware, assemble the main backbox portion of the machine, secure it to the main body, and then attach the HDMI and power connection cables. Once assembled, the machine feels very sturdy and well constructed, and I personally think it's probably the best machine built to date from Arcade1Up. Real metal pinball legs are used here, no cheap plastic imitations. These legs are securely attached utilizing 3 bolts and lock washers per leg, and there are nice metal bracing reinforcements inside the playfield body to really drive home the support of the machine while it's upright. Adjustable leveling feet are at the base of each leg, allowing users to manually adjust the height of all 4 corners of their machine and raise the entire playfield body up an additional 2 inches should they wish. In total, fully assembled, the machine weighs in at 90 pounds, a far cry from the heft and weight of a traditional full-size mechanical pinball machine. Staying on brand with previous arcade releases, Arcade1Up has made these machines in the 3/4 scale of the aforementioned full-size mechanical pinball units, measuring in at 59.5 inches tall at the height of the back box, 20.5 inches wide, and 36 inches long from the back to the front of the machine. The flipper buttons rest comfortably at a height of 35 inches in front of your waist. A physical plunger utilizing Hall effect technology is used here, and it allows the player to accurately measure out their desired intensity for their ball launches during gameplay. It's great for performing skill shots and an excellent addition to the machine overall, and I was happy to see Arcade1Up include it. Back when they first showed off their original prototype units, a physical plunger was missing entirely on those machines. I felt the spring tension on this plunger was particularly good, and overall it's a quality filling component that performs its duties quite well. There is also a convex button underneath the plunger that acts as both the menu selection / inner input, but it also doubles as a ball launcher mechanism should you not wish to use the physical plunger. Which is a nice failsafe, I suppose. Should anything happen to your physical plunger, you won't be left high and dry without any way to play these tables. The back box is illuminated by 2 strips of LEDs, lighting up our legendary trio of Marvel Showcase heroes, Captain America, Spider-Man, and Wolverine. The light effect is smooth and void of any brightness hotspots, and the graphic print itself looks cleaned from any washout or blown out colors. There are 2 playfield knockers built into this machine, utilizing solenoid modules for playfield ball feedback, meaning anytime the player engages the flippers or the pinball whips into a set of bumpers during gameplay, there's a subtle vibration that can be felt in the player's touch to give a very accurate simulation of what a true-to-life mechanical pinball machine feels like when the physical elements perform those same tasks. I found the haptic feedback in the machine to be an impressive and immersive experience overall. There's absolutely no delay in the response in terms of when their impact is happening on the playfield or the flipper buttons are engaged. You absolutely feel those subtle vibrations instantly. I also felt that the intensity of the haptic feedback was well measured, a true Goldilocks scenario here, in which the vibration level felt just right. Any higher and the vibration and the buzzing would have likely been too distracting. Any lower, and the players may not pick up on the tactile feedback quick enough to sense the instant response, especially with gameplay volumes turned way up. This machine also features a built-in accelerometer so you can nudge the ball while it's in play, an absolutely crucial part of the pinball experience, and something the best pinball players have mastered the fine art of. Due to the quarter-scale nature of this pinball machine, physically adjusting and moving the machine requires less physical gusto than what you would expect on a full-size alternative. However, at the 90-pound total weight of this machine, I was happy to see the accelerometer also wasn't too easily engaged. Now, a younger child would likely need some adult assistance to get the ball to respond to a physical machine movement from them, which is another testament to the build quality of this machine. Even when an adult is bumping and moving the machine for those skilled nudges, the machine itself still feels stable and sturdy. At no point did I feel or sense that there was any leg weakness or parts of the construction being compromised while I was nudging the machine. Overall, the feature performs really well and does a great job of sensing and interpreting the levels of physical disruption to the machine body during gameplay. A majority of the controls are located on the front of the machine, stylized inside a faux coin door. This faux door is merely aesthetic and does not open, but houses the machine's power button, master volume, menu settings, and table guide buttons. Upon powering on the machine, there is roughly a 35-second wait time for the startup sequence to finish before players can begin to select their game table of choice. Navigating the game tables is quite simple. Using the flipper buttons on the sides of the machine, the user can scroll left or right through the table choices, using the corresponding right side flipper to move right through the menus, and the left side flipper to go left. To choose a game, the user will press the secondary ball launch button located directly underneath the physical plunger. A screen will then appear showcasing the top 10 high scores recorded on that playfield table, as well as the player's initials. These scores are in fact saved on the machine for every table, even after powering off or unplugging the pinball machine. You can also choose to start the game in 1, 2, 3, or 4 player modes, with each player respectively taking their turns once the previous player loses the ball during gameplay. If you wish to reset the recorded high scores on that table, you can also do that here. To begin the game, simply press the ball launch button, a brief loading screen will appear, and then shortly afterwards the pinball game begins. At any point during pinball gameplay, the user can press the settings menu or table guide buttons and functionally pause the game in mid-action. The settings menu allows players to adjust the volume levels of the game music, special effects, and physics independently of one another. Once again, utilizing the flipper buttons here, players will move up and down on the menu, selecting the setting they wish to change by pressing the ball launch button, and then they can begin to toggle the setting attributes utilizing the flipper buttons. Finally, once you want to save those changes, simply press the ball launching button once more. These settings are universal and cannot be applied on a table-by-table basis. Ball trails can be turned off completely if you do not wish to see that effect, and you can also adjust the amounts required for pop-up scores, but you cannot turn them off entirely. You can also choose to turn off the built-in solenoids, which removes all the haptic feedback from the games, which is a nice feature if, say, you're playing in the middle of the night and you want the sound turned off and you're looking to not really wake up anybody in the household with the sound of flipper noises or bumpers being activated constantly. The table guide button brings up a visual glossary with descriptions on what the players need to do to perform and activate certain skill shots, ball saves, combos, multi-ball features, among other table-centric special features and game modes. This quick reference is a great resource for newcomers who are not familiar with the nuanced storytelling and mission goals that can unfold during gameplay. There are 2 speakers surrounded by metal speaker grills located on the back box of the machine, which pump out an impressive level of gameplay sounds. Gameplay voices are clear and easy to understand, and the overall levels of volume these achieve are quite impressive. One quirk I did notice is that while you're adjusting the sound levels from the master volume switch located on the front of the machine, you get no visual indication of the incremented levels being changed anywhere on either the main playfield or the secondary scoring display. You hear the changes obviously, but you don't see the change represented on the screen anywhere unless you actually go into the game settings menu. Something we've actually grown accustomed to seeing on the most recent releases from the Arcade1Up 3/4 scale arcade cabinets. The playfield body itself is adorned with some nice artwork on both sides of the machine, with the left side having some of the most popular and most recognizable Marvel figures striking heroic action poses, whereas the right side is also completely dedicated to the X-Men mutants, of which these mutants are stylized in their classic 90s era color-schemed costumes, which is a nice touch and something very appreciated by yours truly. Surrounding a large section of the area around the flipper buttons is a clear protective film that sits on top of the artwork itself. This comes already pre-applied from the factory inside the box and offers a secondary form of protection to the graphic artwork in this high-impact area where your hands and fingers are constantly slapping and pounding on the sides of the machine. So ideally, there should be no adverse wear and tear issues from users inadvertently rubbing off these side graphics over time with the oils in their hands. The edges of the playfield are encased with nice chrome-finished trim pieces made of metal. There is a protective acrylic top piece that sits on a wooden bezel that is above the main playfield screen that gives it a nice recessed appearance. The 24-inch playfield screen itself is clear and vibrant and does not suffer from any washed out appearance or graying of the image if your viewing angle shifts off to one side or the other. It's plenty bright enough to play in a room filled with lots of ambient window lighting in broad daylight. And if the user wishes to perform any maintenance or do any sort of modifications to the internal workings of this device, all they need to do is remove the surrounding chrome trim pieces, acrylic top, surrounding bezel trim pieces, and then remove 4 screws. Then you'll be able to lift up the playfield monitor that is being held in place by a pair of locking hinges. You'll then have easy access to all the internal mechanisms and wiring on the inside of this machine. Nestled in between the speakers on the back box is a color 7.5-inch LCD screen that functions as your main gameplay scoring display. And it also serves as an in-game menu selection where applicable. Zen Studios has done a great job integrating various animations, text, and color changes throughout gameplay that really make this secondary display come alive with its simulated dot matrix appearance. It works seamlessly in tandem with the main display screen, and at no point ever lags behind what is happening on the main playfield, ensuring that your points and pertinent gameplay information are displayed exactly when and where it needs to. There are 10 great games included on this machine from Zen Studios, incorporating the vast majority of the major Marvel Universe players. And overall, it's a good, well-rounded lineup and representation of the best Marvel heroes, in my opinion. There's loads of character dialogue, animations, and overall charm that happens during gameplay of each of these Marvel tables, enough to draw a smile from even the most casual Marvel Universe fans. Zen has done a great job optimizing these tables to run on the Arcade1Up hardware here. Gameplay is smooth and free from any slowdowns, even during the most frantic multi-ball portions of gameplay where so many things are happening and firing off at once. I still saw no performance issues or glitches occurring anywhere on either display screen or with how the haptic feedback was responding. To put it very simply, everything just works. It really is a wondrous feeling to be playing these games where there's no delay in the response of the flipper button presses, and features like the accelerometer, assisted nudging, and haptic feedback are all responding so well and so seamlessly to the user. The Arcade1Up pinball machine offers users a very true-to-life virtual simulation of the experience found while playing a real mechanical pinball machine. It's built and constructed exceptionally well, and it comes in at a fraction of the price of even the most basic of virtual pinball machine offerings currently out there on the market. This Marvel Arcade1Up pinball machine has made me a true believer. I truly have had a marvelous time playing on this pinball machine. It goes in line really well scaled with the existing 3/4 arcade cabinets from Arcade1Up, so if you've played on these, played on an arcade cabinet on a riser and you thought, well, it's still too tiny for me, I probably can't change your mind, you're probably going to have the same opinion of this. However, I'm 6'2" and this feels comfortable to me. I don't feel like a gargoyle perched on a ledge just looking down at this machine. It sits comfortably high waist level. I didn't have to adjust the legs any to raise it up an additional 2 inches. That is an option, but comfortably right out of the box, it fits my body type and my style of play. Very comfortable. I don't feel like I'm careening my neck down too far forward. Everything felt naturally comfortable, and it really feels like true pinball. And speaking of true pinball, while the games included on here are not really new per se, these are the same Zen Studios games that have been out for years on several different platforms, and there's a variety of different ways you can play these games. There's no new exclusive titles built into this machine, so if that was something you're looking for, you'll have to definitely look elsewhere because it doesn't exist on this machine. In terms of how it compares to a traditional PC setup to where I'm playing Pinball FX3 and these same titles on my computer, well, the gameplay overall is relatively the same. The obvious differences are the resolutions and some extra settings that you can utilize in the PC as far as changing the playfield camera angle and things like that. You do have a fixed camera on here, which is fine. All you want to really honestly see is the playfield. However, PC, I can go up to 4K, and in terms of the playfield resolution, we've got 720p, 60 frames per second is what all the tables are running at. Would I love it to be bigger, better, faster? Yes, of course, I'm American. I would love to see 1080p, 60 frames per second. However, I don't want to see playback and performance issues on this table should we have to bump it up to 1080p. So if it was 1080p and running at 30 frames per second, I wouldn't be as happy with my gameplay experience. I want to see that full 60 frames per second. And if they have to bump it down to 720p, I understand. And really the only things I've been able to notice as far as resolution issues on the table is when I really look for them, and the most obvious thing is the flippers. You'll see the jagged lines and the edges on the flippers very pronounced if you look at them. However, the rest of the playfield and the table, all the characters and everything look nice and crisp. All the text is easy to read. So the resolution isn't really an issue overall. I didn't feel like it broke the gameplay, so to speak, or something I absolutely had to have at 1080p. It's quite fine at 720p, honestly, just the way this is and the way this is set up with a 24-inch screen. If I threw this in a 50-inch screen, 720p would be a little more pronounced, a little more obvious. However, on the 24-inch playfield, I don't think it's an issue. Additionally, unlike on the PC and some other ports of the Pinball FX games, well, you don't really have any online connectivity on this machine. So if you want to post a high score out there, have some leaderboard competitions, things like that, you can't really do that on this machine. All your high scores are kept locally, but there's no way to post it out there to the world to see. And in terms of downloading additional tables on this machine, you also can't do that either. You're stuck with the 10 tables, but I think 10 is a very nice number, and it's quite well-rounded as far as the presented tables that they've offered. However, Arcade1Up has said they do have plans and intentions to have some sort of connectivity for their machines. So in the future, we may be able to hook this up somehow, some way to the internet, download additional tables, whether it be free or at a price, and also hopefully, fingers crossed, post some scores on an online leaderboard. Now, there were a few subtle quirks I did notice during the extended time I've been testing this machine. None of these are game-breaking deal breakers by any stretch of the imagination, but they are observations worth noting. The first I mentioned previous was the volume indication. Well, when you're using that volume switch on the front of the machine and you're toggling it up and down, you don't get that visual representation or notification anywhere that the volume levels are going up. You just hear it, you don't get to see it anywhere. And again, that was something that we're grown accustomed to on the Arcade1Up cabinets to date. Second little quirk was the moment you turn on this machine, you're greeted by a language selection. So you choose whatever language you're accustomed to, and then you move forward and you go into the menu. Now that's all fine and dandy, but every single time you turn on the machine, you have to tell it English, Spanish, French, Italian, whatever. And it's not like I've all of a sudden learned a secondary or a third language since the last time I used the machine. So that's just a little quirk I thought was a little silly and I would love to bypass overall. And the last little quirk involves fan noise. Now there's a built-in fan on top of the PCB in this machine. And for reasons I've yet to really understand or find a cause or correlation to, every so often when I turn on this machine, that fan is running twice as loud as before. Haven't really figured out the rhyme or the reason. Sometimes when I played this machine for hours, turned it off, turned it back on, it's fine. Sometimes when it's set for hours, I turn it on, that fan is running twice as loud. Now, it's not super distracting. If I have the music turned completely off, you'll absolutely hear it without a doubt. But it's not so loud that two people could stand in a room and have to raise the levels of their voice to have a casual conversation. But it is worth mentioning and it is worth notating that for whatever reason, the fan inside this machine can be heard, and it can be heard twice as much sometimes for relative reasons unknown to me. To wrap it all up and put a nice bow on it, I like this machine. I like it a lot. I really enjoy the gameplay. I'm happy to plunk down another $550 to add a Star Wars one to my collection because I've had an overwhelmingly positive experience playing on this machine. I don't think you can get any kind of better deal out there currently on the market as far as retail. Sure, you could go out there and buy a PC and build your own and have thousands of games probably, but you can go to a retail store, pick this up off the shelf and not have to program, set up any kind of configurations, and just have all sorts of amazing bells and whistles that most can't even offer under $1,000. So I think it's a great value. Anyways, that does it for this video. That does it for this review. If you found the information helpful, make sure you hit that like button, share the video with your friends, and as always, thanks for watching, guys. It really means a lot.